Hey everyone, let's talk about the Ask Gary V audiobook by Gary Vaynerchuk. And unless you're just here for the review, you might wonder why I listen to this book, because we all know I have no interest in becoming an entrepreneur or even making it big on social media. But we also know that I was a little bit lost and down recently, and what I do then is I look for inspiration and motivation online, and I came across Gary Vaynerchuk in Chase Jarvis' 30 Days of Genius, and he talked about the book, and I was impressed and intrigued by this person, so I got the audiobook, and it was no mistake. This audiobook is basically a bunch of questions that were asked to him on his show or online, or actually I don't know where, but a lot of questions that he has answered before, but he put down in a book and then read the audiobook a few months later. And I really enjoyed listening to him. And I also recommend getting the audiobook for two reasons. For one, he changed some of the answers because time has passed and he addresses it. He said, in the book I said this, or in the show I said this, but now I think this. And that was very interesting, especially if you have the book and the audiobook. I think that would be really interesting if you want to compare. And for me, the audiobook was much better because I didn't know Gary Vaynerchuk. And his personality comes across in the audiobook a lot better than I imagine it to come across in a book, because I could put things into context. I learned a lot about him and his attitude, his thoughts and his opinions, and I really like that guy. He seems very authentic. He seems very enthusiastic, and the enthusiasm came across in the audiobook very well. For me, not being really interested super specific in certain questions, but the overall idea, it was inspirational to listen to this audiobook. I learned a lot, and I really liked how he answered questions and that he didn't sugarcoat things. I liked how he got angry or pissed off, as he says, about questions that he thought, that is just stupid. This is a bad question. This you should ask. This is what you want to do. And how he never sugarcoated how much work it is and how much you have to give up of your life if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to make a lot of money. And I think it's very interesting and also helpful to listen to things or advice that you're actually not really considering, because it helps you reflect on your situation. It helps you really sit down and think like, do I really want this? Is this advice that will help me, or is that going in a direction where I just don't want to go? Because at the end of that, you still have learned something. And I really took a lot out of this audiobook. I enjoyed listening to it. I learned things, and I really was introduced to a completely new part of social media or marketing, which I have no idea of. And I can only recommend this book to anyone who's looking for some inspiration, some new ideas. And especially if you want to start a business, you should get into this book. It's interesting. And it's also not the first book he wrote about entrepreneurism. I'm not really interested in the others, but if you are, check out this guy. He's very inspirational and has a lot of good ideas, in my opinion. And now, of course, I'm curious to know if you have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, if you were a fan, if you read the book. Let's talk about this in comments. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.